Just wanted to show you guys a quick update on the Super Turbo, what's been happening and what's planned next, so we're just going to dive straight into it. What's the plan next is to strip all of this off. I think the repair might be the inlet manifold gasket. We removed the supercharger from down below, from underneath. It was very hard to record, guys, but the supercharger and everything is out. We decided just to do that while we're here, so we've still got the belt and everything off. Also, I'm sure the timing is out, so we've stripped the supercharger off while we're here, and we're just going to have to keep stripping. This is going to be very difficult, so what I'm going to use is masking tape, and basically I'm going to wrap everything and number it all so that it's easier to put back together. I've also taken a video of everything so I've just basically scanned round about here in video mode, just so that I've got reference to go back to. That's where I'm at right now. I'm going to strip down this engine bay, show you guys along with it. Basically I got told there's only one inlet manifold gasket, but I've actually seen an option for two, so before I order I want to double check. So I'm just going to strip, order. While this is off, I'm also probably going to be replacing temp sensors, just anything that I can actually get, just renew it while we're here, and we can fully inspect. The last time I did these vacuum hoses, I did inspect them and stuff, but we can do it a lot more in depth and replace a lot more of them, and we'll get down into that fuel filter and regulator as well while we're here. Just going to keep stripping, keep stripping, keep stripping. Dan's going to be back helping me later on in the series, and we're just going to keep stripping and let's just get full attention on this Super Turbo. Another recording. This is where I'm at. Just want to show stripping down so I can show where everything goes back. Just moved into cooler. Case. So that's floating there, so put it back up there. The ones there are going to go out with it, so just make sure they go back there. There's a pipe in at the back, that one there goes back into the back of the thing. Throttle cable, there's a vacuum there that comes through the bulkhead. There's a hose there that comes up and down the way. There. There's a vacuum down in there as well, the mouldy looking thing. Injector clips. We've jumped a step here, guys. We just bit the bullet and removed the manifold. We're hoping to move it forward and then slot the new gasket down in. But you'll see if I go close up in here, the gasket, the old gasket, because it's like cork or paper, whatever, is kind of, I'm sure that looks like cork though. It's really stubborn and really stuck on there. So trying to scrape that off while it was in place was just turning into a nightmare, and we need to do both sides, because you can see some of it's stayed on the inlet manifold and some of it's actually stayed on the engine, so both sides need to be cleaned down properly. We really want this to seal good, especially because we've got the water passages. So what we're doing is I'm using an abrasive wheel. It's like a little poly wheel thing here, and I'm just lightly using it to remove. So I'm going to scrape off the worst of it, and then we're just going to clean the surface up with this, and then we'll actually give it a final clean. I was just doing a little test patch there, but I'm going to clog all these. I'm actually going to hoover them all out first, and then I'm going to clog them all with some tissue, and then we can get the wheel in about, get both sides cleaned up, and then take it from there. Just a little pointer here, guys, when I'm using the little buffing disc, it's actually highlighting areas that are still high, like here, and then it's showing me where there's still some gasket, and then I'm using my little pick to start scraping off, and then we're going back again and buffing off until we get something as good as that all over. Okay, so as quick as that, we have removed and cleaned up this side of the manifold. A couple of things I want to point out, guys. If you look, you see fine scratching in there. So the abrasive disc, I mean the key word is abrasive, so you're going to want to be very, very gentle with that. I've literally just skimmed over it with no pressure just to lift dirt. I'm not digging in or anything. We obviously need this to seal properly, and little tiny micro scratches will be fine. It's no any worse than using like a screwdriver or something, or a little bit of emery paper or something just to clean up the surface, but you don't want to be gouging into that. So if there's any stubborn bits where there's been some gasket left over, I've just been lightly going until I can see the change in colour into the metal. So just be very careful that you don't go digging in, because we still need this to perform and create a seal. So just got the manifold on the trolley here, guys. While we're at this stage, I'm going to tidy up, clean up this area here, where there's been a previous leak by the looks of it. And while I'm here, because this is difficult to access, I've cracked this off with a 19 spanner. I'm just going to replace that as a coolant temp sensor for the ECU, I'm sure. And there's a kind of smaller one. I'm not sure if it was on this side or the other side, but I'm sure it'll be for the gauge. But I'm sure this one is the ECU one. I'm not sure what kind of condition it's going to be in, but when you first start up your car, it's on a cold start map. So if this, see, that's maybe not too bad, but a bit of rust there. So when your car first starts up, it'll be on a cold start map. What it's wanting to do is it's wanting to get up to optimum temperature as quick as it can, because that's when it's at its most efficient and that's when it runs the best. So it uses things like coolant temp sensors to know what the temperature is in the engine, and the way that's how you'll notice that your revs are always slightly higher when you start the car up and it starts to settle down. There's more fuel and everything getting added in. So if this little sensor is giving the wrong information, it could actually be telling the ECU that the engine is still cold, and it will keep firing in fuel. We've got an overfueling issue, but to be honest with you guys, I am sure that timing was out and that was the problem. But little things like this, I've got no idea how old this is, so I just ordered a replacement at the same time. I've got lots of little things to change on this. It's just good maintenance, and this is actually really hard to access while it's on the car, so there's no better time to change it. But I'm sure our problem is the timing. You'll remember on the exhaust episode, if you guys go back and check that, it was popping a little bit, and I always suspected it was a little bit misfiery. I thought it was to do with fueling and ignition and stuff like that, but I think it's actually to do with timing. I just expected that when the timing belt was done and it was running the way it was running, it was done properly, but it just doesn't appear to be that case. The markings just don't line up. So, but we're going to use this time to change all these little serviceable parts. So just before opening this bag, you guys will notice that this is non-returnable if the bag is open, so just use that time to double check the type of plug and that it's going to be the correct sensor that you're changing. So just in that first, this one looks okay. You can see the difference there through the bag. So it's just a good thing to just service this. We've got little service parts here, so we've obviously got the new gasket. We've got a new thermostat housing because that one looks a little bit rusty. New gasket and bolts, a new thermostat itself. Again, if we've been running coolant through this that hasn't been strong enough, it's a good time to change these types of things. I don't want to have done all this, then the thermostat starts sticking open or sticking closed. So it's just a good time to do all this kind of stuff. Timing now being readjusted and reset on the Super Turbo. As you can see, we have used that marking there, that little circle which aligns up to this tooth here. For this angle, guys, we've actually lined it from like the back of that tooth. It's easier than lining it from the front, but it is lining, which takes us back to their original markings with the pink on the sprocket matching the pink on the rocker cover, and if I take you down, we're bang on at the bottom now as well. And another thing to indicate is that little key is pointing straight away at 12 o'clock. So I'm gonna go and say the timing was out on this car. We've got that wrapped up now, we can start putting the cover on. You can see how much space we've got to work with in here now. We've got that all cleaned up, we've got the new gaskets and stuff. We're going to start building all that up now. First we're going to put the supercharger back in because it was really awkward, and then we're going to start building this back up. You guys can hear Darren working away with the ratchet down below me. It's time to get the super turbo finally, well, attempt to start it. We've done a lot of work in the engine bay, we've built it back up. We've kind of skipped ahead without you guys just purely because we've kind of recorded a similar stage on this series before of building everything back up, but we've showed you a lot of what we've done, and we will talk about it a slightly more in depth later on. Darren's just tightening up a few last bits and bobs. We've dropped the battery in, and it's now time to try and see if the car's going to start. You'll remember that we've corrected what we think the timing was out. We've done the inlet manifold gasket, done thermostat housing, new thermostat, and we've done the important core plugs, which could be a blessing because if the timing was out I would never have knew that without changing the core plugs. I've just got some water in it just now. We're just going to attempt to just fire it up. We've had a lot of parts off, and we're going to listen and check for any leaks or anything like that. It's just a test run right now. What do you guys think? Is it going to start? This is the part where my anxiety kicks in and I'm absolutely shitting myself. There's a few hours went into fixing this, and fingers crossed. Darren's there to listen. Michelle's on the camera. Oh, you can hear it. Still doing it then, huh? Goes on to the cover. I thought it would blow up, didn't it? See if this runs like this and doesn't flood the plugs, I'd say we've done a really good job of taking all of this off and putting it back together, because it's very, very complex in there. It's no straightforward. Going to drain it on and do a few flushes yet. See if it'll go again. Aye. Yeah, how come it? Said nothing. Come on.
clacking, but you can hear it. Cylinder 1.
Yeah, not bad. You smell alright?
It don't smell as if there's...
No, I mean,
fuel.
so that, see that there? That's an all plug.
Right.
So it's got a wee bit of carbon in about it there. That's for. So previously, when I had it for its MOT and it was ticking over fine, and then see when I drove it home, it started to want to die and lag out on me. And when I took the plugs out, it had soaked. The plugs were soaked. It was over fueling, and I was putting that down to still problems with the fuel pump, etc. Which was still underlying and had to be resolved, but kinda maybe a blessing that the core plugs popped out and we've discovered the timing and stuff like that.
Right.
And then plus we've changed so much while we've been in there anyway. But that would have been soaking before. It's soaking and
Already, you know?
aye, and stinking. So I will put a fresh set of plugs in anyway. But
I'd maybe get a set of leads as well.
I think, don't know the age of them or anything, so. So what's next then? So I would say that was relatively successful.
Aye.
The fact that it started, it ran, didn't cut out. It seemed to settle itself down. There's a few flushes to happen here. We've only got water in this at the moment. You guys maybe would have seen the condition of some of the coolant pipes and stuff round about the engine. Just down to my own negligence with the rust and stuff like that. So we're going to do a few coolant flushes on this. We've got a couple of things to build up on this side here. We've got the dry shaft nut and stuff to tighten back up because we took this supercharger out an awkward way. And then we've got some brackets and mounts and stuff like that for intercoolers to go on. And then hopefully the next step is going to be down to the paint shop, but first we're going to have to test drive it, so that's coming up.